Hey, welcome back to another episode of the MindShare Podcast. I'm David Greenspan, and this one is a milestone episode. This is number 350. But instead of celebration, consider this your wake-up call. Recent headlines show iPro Realty collapsing under a massive 8 or maybe 10 million trust shortfall. RECO had been aware of the issues early in the year, but did nothing into the public outcry. And the registrar has now resigned or maybe been pushed out amid the fallout. See, these events aren't just news. This is proof that systems at the top can and will fail. And when they do, it's the agents on the ground, it's the people on the ground who always get hurt. So today we're holding institutions accountable while giving you strategies and clarity that you can use right now. Because the truth is, in real estate and in life, discipline, consistency, and process will carry you even when the system fails. Let's go. So first, let's talk about this iPro fallout and RECO's accountability, because this is a shit show right now. There is so much going on at the top of this entire thing that everybody's still trying to figure their way through it. Now, I know, look, first, again, we're going to preface right now. We've got some good friends over at RECO. There are some great people. And I know that a lot of these folks right now are scrambling, trying to figure out what are they supposed to do? What's the right thing to do? What did they learn from maybe what they didn't do? I mean, that's life. There's a ton of learning to do, but we're not just going to let this pass, right? So, let's look at this for a second. RECO ordered the wind down of iPro Realty effective August 19th, so just, about a week ago, after they uncovered a trust account shortfall of nearly $10 million. Now, this impacted over 2,400 agents across 17 different branches. Now, we know that through further investigation, they've actually reduced that number to about $8 million. Now, there's some really interesting stuff about that, because I had to do a little bit of further digging, and what I found out here, when we look at the $8 million shortfall, okay, what's important to understand is there are limits on insurance. So check this one out. Not all consumers are going to be made whole. Insurance coverage is capped, get this, guess the number, at $8 million. So originally we were talking $10 million. In fact, some reports say $10.5 million, but we know now that the number's been reduced to $8 million, and go figure. Insurance is capped at $8 million total. Now, that is also, in the sort of finer print, says split equally between consumer deposits and commissions with a per-claim maximum of $200,000. So this means there's going to be a ton of consumers or even agents that are not going to get covered. They're not going to recover the full amount of the money. Again, obviously, if it goes over $200,000, they're not getting that. So I find this interesting. Look, there's a lot of interesting stuff here, right? First, we know that agents are paying dues to RECO, and if you're not in the real estate industry, this is the Real Estate Council of Ontario. Agents pay dues on an annual basis to RECO for protection, and it's there so that if oversight fails, it's your business, it's your reputation, and it's your income on the line. And that's really why this matters to everybody, because now what we're looking, call it big institution, call it, the people that are supposed to be protecting us, not fully protecting us. And this seems all too commonplace with a lot of stuff going on. Let's just talk about, I don't know, maybe our federal government, who's certainly not protecting us, but is out there protecting all sorts of other people. Things are ass backwards. See, if those entrusted with oversight can't act until there's a crisis, you got to double down on your own systems. You got to double down on your own discipline. I mean, look, RECO was the last to know about this. They did this, this investigation. They found that there was a shortfall, and later reduced the number, as we talked about. But they'd also looked into iPro back in 2021, and this entire shit show went completely unnoticed. And I think that either tells us that somebody wasn't looking hard enough, People weren't trained well enough. People didn't know what they were looking for, or somebody turned a blind eye. And we have no idea, right? We really don't. I think what else was really interesting in this entire thing is that these people that owned iPro Realty or ran iPro Realty, they were able to transfer from iPro to this brand new thing called iCloud. And it's like, reimbursement fees were waived, transfer fees were waived. There was a whole bunch of stuff that happened to try to make agents whole and to try to just move everything over. iCloud even acquired some of iPro's assets. But RECO stands firm that there was no transfer of ownership and that the broker of record was not actually implicated in any of the wrongdoing that happened. Now, people are like up in arms about this thing, right? People are pissed, and rightfully so. We know that RECO went ahead and immediately froze iPro's accounts. They're call it cooperating with Peel Regional Police, but the reality is we know that right now the police have not stepped in until RECO goes ahead and finishes their investigation. So there has been officially no criminal charges laid just yet. We also know that their CEO announced just a few days ago that their registrar had been removed from his position and that there's going to be a full review there. So, they're promising more transparency. They're telling people they're going to be doing. We know that there's a lot of people still left wondering, not understanding what's going to happen. And quite frankly, it is completely alarming. I think a lot of people are beside themselves to understand how in the world a brokerage with 17 branches and over 2,400 agents could get into such financial trouble, could pull something like this, and nobody's really paying attention. People are screwed. There's going to be some serious problems here, and a lot of people are going to lose on this, unfortunately. And again, the lack of disciplinary action that was taken against these folks that founded the company, this guy Rui and this guy Fidel, none of it makes sense. How is this even fair that these guys did not get charged criminally? How is it right that they were able to do this? How did nobody see this? And this whole thing about, consumer protection, where is it? Now, we know that, and I stated a moment ago, criminal charges haven't been laid here. And I mentioned that Peel Regional Police are involved. We know that it's been referred, but it is pending. Now, when RECO finally makes their decisions and goes through their investigation, at that point, criminal charges may begin, or a criminal investigation might begin in the future. It all depends on what the Fraud Bureau deems appropriate after they see what RECO found. People are look. I mean, this thing is just this is huge for the industry. We also know here's another one, that Rui and Fidel, the co-founders of iPro, they have been permanently barred from real estate trading by RECO. Okay, so they have been permanently barred from real estate trading. For anybody wondering, that is the sort of news that's out there right now. These guys are not allowed to trade in real estate anymore. But we do know that a lot of the agents were able to move over to another brokerage. We know that the owner of that brokerage is actually owning another brokerage and has no implications to any of this. So there's a lot of stuff here still that doesn't make a ton of sense about what's going on. And the fact that there's no jail time connected to any of this. No, there's no criminal charges that have been connected to any of this. That's the craziest part of it all. Yeah, we got speed cameras going up on every street corner in the world so we can get tickets by automated computers that could tell us we were going 7 kilometers over the speed limit. Like, when we look at what is going on in this country, we are totally, pardon me, fucking lost. It is absolutely out of control that there's such a lack of accountability at so many different levels. And usually, And I guess, yeah, if you look backwards in time, you could always say it's been this way. But the people at the top seem to be, Teflon. They unscathed. It's okay if they make mistakes, but if the little guy makes a mistake, we're gonna tar and feather. Like, I don't know. I know that's been life. I know that's the way it's been going since for hundreds and hundreds or thousands of years. The big guys win and the little guys lose. I mean, it's the story, right? It's the ongoing story. Mind you, David and Goliath. That story wasn't so much similar. David actually won. But how often do you hear those? Especially when it comes to government, especially when it comes to big business. It's incredible how we are all getting kicked around so much in life. Cost of living is way up. Taxes are out of control. People's incomes, actually, we'll talk to that in a moment. Okay, we will talk to that in a moment because you know what? That's where I'm going today. But here, when we talk about iPro for a second, I need to, instead of just being on a complete fucking rant this morning. Sorry. I know. Some of you can't handle the F-bombs. I don't know why you're here then. But thank you for tuning in. Listen, action steps here, okay? Number one, with everything that we just talked about with RECO and iPro, demand transparency. Okay? Ask your board for answers. Ask them for timelines. Ask them for accountability. Demand what's going on. Ask. Like, one of my biggest lessons in life, or one of my biggest things, whatever. I believe if you don't ask, you don't know. And the worst you can ever hear is no. And if you know me or you listen to the show regularly, and I thank you either way, and it's great that you're here, and I thank you, you know that I always tell you, just ask the question. If you don't like where you're sitting at a restaurant, ask if you can move. If you want to get an upgrade in a hotel or on an airplane, just ask. The worst you're going to hear is no. If you want something, ask for it. If you don't ask, you're never going to get it. And much the same when it comes to transparency, ask. Demand. Okay? Advocate. Look, a lot of these roles require people who care. People who will go above and beyond what they do in a day-to-day and actually care about something beyond just feeding their pockets. And that's a lot of the people who get involved when it comes to RECO or it comes to any of these other boards, these associations. Maybe there's something deeper rooted. It's an ego thing. Maybe they want, the power of the pen. They want to be the person at the top. Maybe a power thing. Who knows? But there's also a lot of people that get involved because they want to help. And they want to make, they want to do good and they want to make positive impacts and change. And let's not discount the fact that there are a lot of those folks that are at RECO and at any of these places. In fact, there's a lot of very innocent people that are at iPro that are getting nailed in this whole thing. But if we don't advocate for governance and you don't bring out your real voice, it's real nice to sit back there and complain about something in the privacy of your own home. But if you're not going to step up and say anything and say it publicly and loud so people can actually hear, then what are you wasting your time saying it at all for? And a last one here I might say is forget about looking outwards, but look inwards. Audit your own compliance. Think about the way you operate. Think about the things you do and think beyond, let's say the quote unquote institution and how they might come out and jump up and save you for anything. Right? A lot of people will do those fallbacks. Oh, yeah, well, I'll just do this. But that doesn't always work like that. You can't just always fall back on something for the sake of falling back and using it as a scapegoat. So audit your own compliance. Okay, I want to keep moving here. Because seriously, this is something that could just take me down a tangent. And it kind of has today, so that's where we're at. But these are relevant, insightful facts, stats, conversation, points, I don't know, whatever. It's all relevant to you, okay? So just stay with me here for a minute. Because what I'm trying to do here is not just, again, bitch and complain. What I am trying to do is instill something in your mind to think about the way you're doing your business, the way you're operating your business, things that you can look at, and what we can do to ensure that you're constantly on an upward trajectory in positive, seeing more opportunity, making more money, closing more deals, helping more people. Because that's my main goal, is to help you. Now, as we talk about helping, one thing we know that the government is not helping anybody with anything, especially when it comes to housing. And we know that there's a very real issue here when it comes to housing in Canada. So I want to give you a little bit of data that you can use and just things that you could think about here, okay? But think about this. Home prices. They're actually forecasted to drop this year, and we know that we've been seeing that happen. Okay, we know that Toronto's down as much as almost 4%. The overall the price of homes is coming down. They say that affordability has improved for 5 quarters, but I really believe that that's only because, again, prices are coming down a little bit, not because people's incomes rose, because we know that didn't happen. We also know that here in this country, with this unbelievable, I can't get my head wrapped around why the doors are wide open to Canada right now. Why in the world are we just accepting anybody and everybody to come into this country right now? It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. We've got a housing problem. There's an affordability problem. Canada needs 3.5 million more homes by 2030 to restore affordability. And that goes back to what we were in the early 2000s. That is crazy. 3.5 million more homes by 2030? How in the world is Canada even going to get close to a number like that? If we run some quick numbers here, and you just divide that by 5, that's 700,000 homes over the next, per year over the next 5 years. There's no way in the world it's happening. We've got, listen, we cannot let this just fly by and be like, yeah, well, it's a problem. I mean, this is where we come back to the advocacy. We need to be stepping up. We need to be talking about this stuff, okay? First, the doors need to shut. Shut, slammed hard, put a lock on that thing, put a big bar across the front, put signs outside. You can't come in. And the other day I hear that people are claiming refugee status in Canada and getting $82,000 from us, plus food and hotel and lodging, whatever. 82,000. Fact check me. Back check me. Then tell me if your blood didn't just start boiling. Think about it. You're out there slugging. You're working hard. You're doing it in a market that ain't easy. And we got people here claiming refugee status who are getting $82,000. The mayor of Toronto stated the other day, after a $107 million shortfall, that we can't just leave people out on the street. Oh, so when they come here illegally, we should pay for them, put them up in a hotel wherever, feed them, take care of them, let them put a strain on our economy while we've got hardworking Canadians getting their asses kicked over here. As far as I'm concerned, to put this lightly, it's bullshit. I don't know if that was light, but still, this is ridiculous. I've had enough, and quite frankly, it's well, you're what are you going to do about it? Well, number one, as I said to you a moment ago about advocate, that's what I'm doing right now. I am saying this to you at this exact moment and to thousands of others. And albeit there's going to be people that don't agree with me, which I can't understand. And if you don't agree with me, you're probably not from here, and you probably haven't lived here long enough to even for me to care whether you agree with me. And sorry, I know this sounds absolutely horrible. David, how could you be saying this? This sounds very, very bad. No, let's go down this road for a second, okay? Decades ago, when we had mass immigration to this country, people came in looking for a better life, looking to work hard. looking to raise a family. They would start businesses, go work for people. They'd get in the trenches and get dirty and make sure they were making a living and contributing. They were becoming part of society here, speaking the same language, trying to integrate themselves. Now, no matter where you go, you could tell that it's a whole new world. Visually, you could see it. Audible, you can hear it. People don't even speak English anymore, and everywhere you go, you barely understand what people are saying. I mean, personally, for me, I don't want to go to any big, massive public places, tourist attractions in Canada. It's out of control. And again, I'm not trying to say I don't like people from other places. Please do not take me out of context. What I'm saying is it's become completely out of control. It's putting a total strain on our economy. It's putting a total strain on everything. Again, 3.5 million more homes by 2030 to restore affordability to the early 2000 levels. Guys, housing starts dropped 3% in May 2025. There's fewer homes being built, despite this demand that we need. Look, this isn't like a temporary slowdown. This isn't like a blip in the radar. This is structural. Affordability and supply issues are going to define this next decade. And I've been saying it to you for a while now. We have not hit the bottom. We're in a race to the bottom, but we haven't hit it yet. And it's going to keep going down as affordability keeps getting tougher and the environment around us continues to change. This market isn't going to magically fix itself. But what we got to understand is that pros, they figure out how to pivot. They figure out how to adapt. And they figure out how to educate their clients with facts so everybody can make informed decisions. Now, I guess that was rant number 2 today. And I said I wasn't going on a rant here. But some action steps, because that's important. We've always got to do the action steps. Okay. Think about using local data in every client conversation that you have. Okay, so stop relying on headlines. I had a conversation with a gentleman the other day. It's funny, I tell you guys about the mastermind. And I say, I'm not telling you anything, and I don't tell you anything. But I was having a conversation with a gentleman the other day who's actually going to be joining us at the mastermind. And as we talked about what was going on with the market and the economy, he was very forward in stating, he says, well, it depends where. It depends what market. And as I would make a comment on something, well, yeah, it depends, but it depends what city. Now, here's a guy who knows what's up. It wasn't like he was just trying to argue. And what he was doing was really trying to clarify, and that's really where I'm getting to you with the action step now, is that we do have pockets. We do have, areas where there's great activity happening. People are making moves. Prices are affordable. There is real estate to purchase. It may not be where you want it to be, but there's stuff out there. But if we rely on the headlines and we just watch what the headlines are saying, everything is bad, everything is over. And then, of course, they try to spin a little bit of good. So they're like, oh, let's put something good in there today. We're seeing a little bit of growth. We're seeing a little bit of action. There might be a rebound. And then about a week later, it's like, no, there's nothing going on. We're totally screwed. Right? But if you just rely on headlines to share information to your people and you don't dig deep enough, you don't have enough knowledge to be able to have an informed conversation or an educated conversation to guide people the right way and to prove your value. So stop relying on the headlines, okay? Think about, as another action step here, sharing the, let's call it affordability realities with people in your database this week. Go to your database. We talk about this, again, for those that coach with me, we talk about this often, but how many emails do we want to be sending, mass emails to our list, do we want to be sending in a month? We know that number. And we know that what we want to do is we want to make sure that at least one of those emails, for example, can talk about affordability, can talk about what's actually going on out there, and can open up the conversation with the people in your database who know you, like you, trust you, to potentially lean back on you for questions, for answers, for guidance. Which, this really takes me to the third action step here that I'd suggest to you, is to position yourself. Position yourself as a voice of clarity. Position yourself as a voice of reason, knowledge. Just not noise, right? We don't want to just say things to say things. It's like if I came on here, and let me give you a really good example, because I was talking to somebody about this the other day as well, who was actually, made a nice comment and said, what I really love about your content is that you always give it next steps. You don't just say something and then say it, and we got to figure out what to do. You actually say it and you give action steps. And listen, it was nice to hear. It's like any of us. You're out there doing work. You're trying to make an impact, and when people give you positive feedback or tell you what they really like about it, whatever. It's just a nice pat on the back for ourselves. So what I'm saying to you here, though, is when we think about not being just noise, if I was to record this episode, share all this with you, but not give you these specific action steps at the end, then straight up I'm just bitching and complaining. But in this case, or in my case, as always, between the podcast and the keynotes and the group trainings, the coaching, everything, there's always got to be action steps. What is our next step? So again, when you've got next steps, when you can guide people and give people direction, and not say do this, but at least even present options for what they could do, again, you position yourself as a voice of clarity, as opposed to somebody who's just, again, ranting, bitching, complaining, screaming, but never doing anything about it. I know there's one person in my life I have this conversation with all the time who's always complaining about something. And I'm like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? They're like, the world's just a crazy place. And I'm like, nah, listen, so stop complaining about the world if you're not going to do anything about it. You're wasting your time. You're wasting my time. I don't want to hear it. But if you got ideas, for how to fix it, let's have that conversation. At least it's strategic. Okay, let's take a quick commercial break here. This episode is powered by Kit's Keep in Touch systems. Automate consistent connection with your clients. REM Real Estate Magazine, trusted insights for Canadian real estate professionals, and Revel Realty, bold marketing, culture first innovation. Be sure to grab your free resource. Grab my 7 Ways to Communicate ebook. It's free. It's at mindshare101.com. It's built for agents who want results, not noise. And of course, don't forget that September's around the corner. We're here. We're around the corner. We're here. But so is our MindShare Mastermind. It is coming up September 15th through 17th in Toronto. We are almost full. I know we've got just a few seats left. DM me the word mastermind to grab one of those last seats. If you DM me that word, and for those of you that have, that I will respond to you, and I will try to help you get a little bit better understanding of what's going on. But you're talking to me directly when you do that. Okay, so again, go into Instagram, David Greenspan 101, DM me the word mastermind, and we'll have a one-on-one conversation to help you figure out whether you can get in that room or not. Look, we don't take everybody. We don't just take anybody. We want good people. We want you in that room if you're looking to take your income and add another 100, 200, 300K to it. That's the people we want. You're in that spot. Maybe you're doing 150. Maybe you're doing 250. Maybe you're doing 350, but you know that you want to grow. Oh, we're going to help you grow. You will make more money. Look at this as an investment, not an expense, and know that it's a 100% tax write-off for you. Look, this is where clarity becomes strategy, and strategy becomes action. All right, let's get back to this. Let's talk, because I said this a moment ago. I dropped it, and I was like, I'll get to that. But affordability, policy. Let's have some real talk here. Okay, I said it a moment ago. There's a core housing need. Okay, 1.7 million Canadian households, that's 11.6% of the population, live in homes that are inadequate, unsuitable, and or unaffordable. And they can't afford better alternatives. Now, part of this, to me, there's a lot of people that went out and started spending money that they shouldn't have spent when times were really good. Everybody was a rock star. They're going to go party like a rock star. Well, now those people ain't no rock stars no more. And they're all curious and wondering about this hangover that they're having after the big party and going, what am I going to do now? Now, I get it. Not everybody's going to live the life of luxury. You're going to have your different classes. There's going to be people that do live in inadequate, unsuitable homes. And I'm not sitting here today saying necessarily that we all have to jump up and start, giving them some of our home because they don't have an adequate home. This is like the same thing that's looking at somebody who, lives on the street per se. And maybe that one particular person we're talking about, like, actually has the means to go get a job, just doesn't have the drive to do it. Well, if they haven't got the drive to go get a job, why should anybody be paying for them? That's on them. I got to work hard. You got to work hard. We got bills to pay. So if you haven't got the drive, if you haven't got the desire to improve your situation, I'm not coming for you. And I know that sounds horrible. Like, I'm here to help anybody and everybody I possibly can. But, like, if you can't do it for you, if you don't want it bad enough for you, trust me right now when I tell you I ain't doing it for you. I got a lot of people around me that I care about. Friends, family, loved ones, kids, wife, parents, sister, siblings, clients. I spread myself in a lot of different ways to help a lot of different people. I do not need to go and help the random person who does not want to help themselves. So again, when it comes to inadequate, unsuitable, look, I'm not suggesting that people should be living in those conditions. What I am saying, though, is unfortunately it's just a reality to the way the world works. It's going to be people that live in these massive, homes that look like shopping malls. And there's going to be other people who may not have a roof over their head, which is very sad and unfortunate. But that's, they're regardless, again, housing crisis, right? We know that. What about price to income ratios, right? Like, Toronto households, check this one out, Toronto. And I know, like, if you're not living in Toronto, maybe you're living in, like, somewhere else in Ontario, or maybe you're outside of the province. Maybe you're not even in Canada. But Toronto is a world-class city. Arguably, I'd say it once was a world-class city. Now you go down there and you're like, the entire world is in our city. But Toronto households now spend 74% of income on ownership costs. 74% of income on ownership costs. And CMHC is projecting that number could actually rise to 79% within the next 10 years. Without any major supply reform. And again, I know that we've had some incredible people that have been part of the real estate industry join me on this show as a guest to talk about housing policy, the red tape, what's going on. We're literally looking down this road going, there's really nothing going on. Nobody's making any significant changes. I truly believe, again, when you come back right up to the top, they're doing this very much on purpose, but that's my own rabbit hole. But by 2035, in the next 10 years, 79% of income will go to ownership costs on a home. Now, what we need to understand is, like, healthy benchmarks sit under 30%. Under 30. We are more than double, almost triple. 2.5 times. Look, you got to understand. Here's, like, why this matters to you. We are not in a short-term dip. This isn't like just like a little blip in the radar. Without any solution supply, affordability is going to remain completely broken for a complete another generation. And that scares the shit out of me. Like, if I tell you my biggest fear in life is what the hell are my kids going to do in 10, 20, 30 years from now? That's what worries me. What's this world going to look like? And I'm sure that my grandparents looked at the world and thought, oh my God, it's changing. It's going to be crazy. And my parents came up and did their thing, and all was good. And they had me and my sister, and again, all is good. And so I think every generation probably looks ahead, and I'm sure my parents do. And I know, speaking to my father, every once in a while he'll say the same thing. But, you kind of look ahead and go, man, this place it's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. And I'm thinking the same thing right now. It's a crazy world. And that's what scares me. But when you start to think about affordability and how it's completely broken, I mean, we could see it. We're living it right now. And we know that housing isn't going to fix itself. But what we can do about it is we can help guide. Okay, we can lead our clients and do it through a professional, educated means. Okay, instead of hype, brand new condo development, or you got to go buy this place because it looks so nice and it's got a beautiful, backyard barbecue by the pool, whatever. Like, we got to get back to practicality. And that's, again, our mission here in this industry. It's to guide people properly, right? It's to steer them down the right path. It's to help them make decisions, choices, and choose a direction for themselves and their family for years, decades, generations to come. And I know that goes deep, but you got to think to yourself, and we know it, right? But this is the biggest asset of anybody's entire life. 80% towards their house? Perspective. I'm telling you now, perspective. We cannot let this just go in, one ear and out the other and not do anything about it. We need to start, driving direction here. We need to start advocating. We need to start, educating our clients properly. And this is not about fear-mongering and Chicken Little and the sky is falling. By no means is this it. This is just realities of where we're going. And how we just continue to get up and do and then, scroll and then go to bed and then get up and do and scroll and go to bed and get up and do and scroll and go to bed and then it's a freaking broken record. We don't do anything to change it. But we need to. So again, some action steps. How can we do this? Well, think about this. One, educate your clients, just like I'm doing with you right now, about core housing need. Don't sugarcoat this reality, okay? Do not do that. 74% right now and could rise up to 79% that's predicted by CMHC. And I'm not saying they're right. They've been wrong before. But the benchmark's 30%. So even if we don't see a change, think about that. 45% higher than we should be right now. So don't sugarcoat. You got to educate people. You got to tell them what's going on. They need to understand. I mean, think about this. Have you sat back at all over the past little while wondering what the hell's going on? Like looking at your finances and wondering why you're not, why you're still in the same spot or why you're feeling the pinch even tighter, yet you're still making money, you're still working hard, yet things just feel tighter. This is why. I look at my Visa bills and I am beside myself as to how much groceries and gasoline cost me in a month. So educate your clients. Okay, here's another idea. Think about putting out let's call this like an affordability themed post. Okay, so you go out on let's say your Instagram, your Facebook, and you do a little video and you talk about it, and maybe educate people. Do a little bit more digging on this whole thing about core housing need. Then talk to people about it. Try to bring light to it, just like I'm doing right now. Why? Create conversation. Show people you're educated. Show people you understand what's going on. Show people you're trustworthy. And another action step here could be, looking at policy, housing policy, finding specifics of that housing policy that you truly support and advocating for it. Even at the local level, go around and talk to people in your client base. Go around to talk to people at your office. Talk to neighbors. Have the conversation. Again, guys, if we don't have the conversations, things continue to be pushed under the rug, swept under the rug, and nobody really says anything. And I wonder if we go back to this whole iPro thing with RECO, and when they investigated earlier this year, did somebody notice it and go, oh my God, how are we going to deal with this? Let's just keep this quiet for a little bit until we figure our shit out, which is normal. We know that big business, or we know that, we know that type of stuff happens. Before you can actually figure out what to do, you got to come up with a plan. Then you can tell people, well, what's going on. Okay, so I kind of sort of get it, but like at the same time too, we've also got to think about the fact that there were a lot of people still at risk over those number of months that we could have saved from being at risk. Now, my point is, nobody said anything. Nobody said anything even to a friend. So the word didn't get out. And because the word didn't get out, nobody had to do anything right away. Well, you know how it goes. Once something leaks out, it's like everybody goes into fire mode. Like, we gotta save this. We gotta put the fire out. We gotta make sure everything's okay. And everybody just starts reacting. But until it gets let out, everything's calm. Everything's cool. So when you think about housing policy, as much as we've had these conversations time and time and time again, and they're happening at a federal level, at a provincial level, they're happening at board and association levels, I get it. We got to continue to push this, though. And I truly believe the first place we got to push is to push the doors closed. Then we've got to take stock of the people that maybe shouldn't be here, get them out of here. And then we got to take stock of what kind of housing problem we got. Because if we're including all of these folks that are coming in droves that are lending to our housing crisis, which they are, we got to get that shit under control, and we need to be talking about that more. And again, please, I say this with due respect to anybody who comes in with all good intentions to work hard, to contribute, to integrate, to be part of. But if you don't like being here, and you don't want to be here, and you don't want to do anything, get out, please. We got our own problems to deal with. We can't deal with yours. And I'm willing to bet that nobody that I'm actually referring to is even listening to this show, but whatever. We are. And the reality is we can continue to be advocates. Respectfully, politely, professionally, but we need to be advocates. Okay. Let's look at this now, okay? Because I talk about advocating, and I've been ranting for the past little bit here, and I hope that you're picking up a whole bunch of good stuff that you can leverage for your business and understand how you can make it better for you, okay? Because that's really the end goal. So let's look at this. Process, and I've told you this, pardon me before. I've told you before, progress over results. Progress over results. As long as you're doing the work, the results will come. But if all you're doing is measuring yourself on the results and not really working hard enough, you won't get those results. So now, very similarly, I want to do a different mindset on this one, but process over panic. Okay? Process over panic. See, this is your real edge. Markets collapse. As we can see, brokerages implode. And we know that the governing bodies that do a lot of oversight, they waste a shit ton of money. I mean, I brought that one up with the REA when they were on this hunt for, like, who should be the CEO. Like, Luigi was there from day one. Luigi was always there. There was no reason to go spend all this money. You should have just hired Luigi to begin with. Korea, data centers, why? But we see the bigger play, and I talked to you about that last week. And I'm telling you, sidebar here, pay attention to that. Why is Korea running ads? Are they looking to get in between you and the client? Just think about it, okay? But again, oversights, these bodies that do they waste a shit ton of money because they can, because you got people at the top who are using money that ain't theirs, and someone's making a lot of money along the way. But we can't control all that stuff. We can't control what the outside does, but what we can control is our process. Think about the last 18 months. Interest rate spikes, frozen inventory, now a brokerage collapse. The agents without systems are the ones who are panicking right now. Meanwhile, the agents with the daily process, you're still producing. And I know that for you, my coaching client who's listening, you are. And whether you're doing an exact number you want to be doing right now, we also know that transaction volume is down. We know that average price is down. And we know that the 12 months prior to today were a lot weaker than the 12 months prior to today 1 year ago. So the runway, not as smooth. So it's been tougher to get to where most people want to go. Okay, but when we start to listen to the headlines and we allow them to cause that panic, which they're doing, the professionals always fall back on their process. And that's why they win. See, it's not that they were dealing in a different market. It wasn't like the market was kinder to them. But it's because they were consistent. It's because they have a system. It's because they continue to work it. That's the difference. All this stuff I'm talking about with iPro and housing affordability and the government and big, like all the shady stuff that goes on in the background, all the ranting I've done today, you need to understand. When I sit here and I tell you about people who talk about the sky is falling and they do nothing about it, You know, and I know that that's why you're here. You know I'm not one of those people that does nothing about it. I do. And I work tirelessly on a daily basis, hence why we're doing this today even, right now, to help you also do. Because I care. And I don't want you being just another one of those realtors who struggles, who can't get by, who doesn't know which way's up, who stresses internally in their mind, stresses financially, wants to do more for their family. I want to help you do that. And that's why, again, we talk about falling back on process. Okay? You've got to have a consistent process to what you do. And as long as you've got that, then we can keep moving forward. No matter what's going on. It's like being in a car and it's pouring rain. Then all of a sudden it stops raining and the sun comes out and it's gorgeous out and it's super hot. And the next thing you know, it's cold and it's hailing. You go through all these different weather patterns, hot and cold and rain and hail and sunshine and whatever. I'm in a car. The windows are up. The air conditioning is on or the heat is there. It's fully capable. And I can go through anything. And I'm just going to keep driving straight through it all. Through all this chaos, because I built a process. Because you've built a process. So taking everything we just talked about today into consideration, yeah, it's crazy times out there. But like we said, I think generations ago they probably looked ahead and said crazy times out there. And I think it's the same thing that continues to happen. But it is a matter about how we, individually, each and every single one of us, plan for the next day. How we get up in our day, how we move through our day, how we recognize what we've accomplished in our day, and how we lay our head down at the end of our day, and what we do again the next day. So I want to close out with a playbook here, okay? Because again, important, we've got action steps. So all of this is not just, wasted time bitching and complaining here. Number 1, define 3 non-negotiables. What are your 3 non-negotiables? Mine, prospecting, follow-up to my database, and content creation. My content goes out to people that are, just randomly out there. So you're on social scrolling, you'll see some stuff. You're checking your inbox, you'll see some stuff. We're trying to put a lot out there, just like this, the podcast, just to make sure that we're educating. Database, the follow-up, huge. Fortunes in your follow-up. Prospecting. I mean, you're not going to have anybody to follow up with if you're not doing the prospecting. So 3 really easy non-negotiables, and this is whether you feel like doing them or not. You want to have a system, you want to have a process, you want to win no matter what's going on out there. Prospect, follow up, and content create. Now the second one here, calendar. Calendar everything. Schedule everything. You need to protect your time like it was a client appointment, a listing appointment, like a vault full of gold. If you're not protecting your time, it's like you're rolling down the street with $100 bills falling out of your pocket and you don't give a shit. It doesn't make sense. Time will continue to pass, and if we don't use it wisely, appropriately, we're going to miss out on a lot of things that we want in life. So again, your playbook, when we talk about system and process, resilience and surviving all this, calendar everything. Don't give you excuses. But that's not the game I play. This business is really hard. No, it's hard to stick to a schedule. It's hard to plan a schedule. It's hard to look ahead and think that this is exactly what I'm going to do. But once you get in a rhythm, it's not hard at all. In fact, it makes you a lot more successful. I get more done in a day than most people do in a week. Again, not because I'm better or smarter, anything. I'm just a hell of a lot more systematized. I'm a lot more disciplined to my process. I've got my goals tracked. I know what I want in life. I also feed my brain on a regular basis, and I've learned that from the best of the best of the best, that if you are not taking care of your time, if you are not investing those minutes properly, you cannot get the returns out of life that you want. Now, much the same. Action step number 3, measure, track, weekly, daily. Track your calls, track your conversations, track your leads, track did you go to the gym, track did you read a book, track everything. Did you write in your journal? Did you spend time with your family? How many deals did you write? I mean, everything. So when we track, we can measure. When we can measure, we can adjust, and we can see what's working. We can see what's not working. We can tweak it a little bit to make it work. It's really not hard. The only reason it sounds hard is because you don't do it yet. But once you start doing it, it starts to become like a drug, like a good drug, like the one that you want more of, like that dopamine dump you get when somebody clicks like on your Facebook post, or pats you on the back and tells you you did a good job with something. You know that dopamine dump, that good feeling when you hug your children, your loved one, feels nice. When I hug my mom, it feels nice. I want that nice feeling on a regular basis. I want it through all the actions that I do in a day so that I'm constantly in a good state of mind. I'm feeling good. So if I can see that I, recorded my podcast and the podcast is done recording and now I've got it ready for you to listen to. And again, episode number 350. Come on. Talk about process. We've done this 350 times. Holy shit, that is crazy. That's wild. 350. Listen, I'll tell you right now, it doesn't happen without measuring. Okay, so again, action step number 3 is measure. Track daily. Then just tweak along the way. And the last one here, okay, so I said measure weekly, but I really said measure daily. Okay? Here's what you can do weekly, though. Do a quick review of what worked. Whether you do it on a Friday or you do it on a Sunday, Friday's nice because it's sort of wraps up the 5 days. You kind of go into the weekend, whether you're working or you're not working. I'm always going, but Sunday you can kind of start anew, kind of review what you did Friday, review what you learned from what you did or didn't do on Friday, and then make the next 5 days ahead even better. But it's a real quick review. Like every Friday, just write down one win and one adjustment. Here's where we won, here's what we did really well, and here's what we want to focus on next week. Now go back and do it again the following week. Plan accordingly. Then do the review again on Friday. Write down one win, one adjustment. And over a period of time, you start to take those weekly reviews and compare them to each other. Are the wins consistent? Do you seem to be writing down the same thing that you need to adjust every week? Or maybe you see it often, because that's going to be a telltale to you, like a sort of a red flag. Hey, fix this. So again, action steps. The playbook, define 3 non-negotiables. Schedule everything. Track and measure daily. And then do a weekly review of what worked. 1 win and 1 adjustment. Look, consistency isn't just some, real estate principle. This is a life principle. Consistency is the magic ingredient to achieving anything you want in life. And whether you're building a business, training for a marathon, or working on your health, process beats panic. Just like we started this section with. Process beats panic. Look, episode 350 isn't just a number. This is a turning point. Okay? Systems failed. We talked about that today. But you can stand strong with discipline and with consistency. And that is how you're going to earn more mindshare. And that mindshare equals market share. So look, if this episode hit home in any way, and I'm sure it did because I hit on a lot of different things today, please share it with a colleague who needs to hear it. This is us advocating together. You don't even have to say it. Just be like, hey, tune in this episode. If you haven't yet, and you're a first-time listener, please subscribe so you never miss any more clarity when any of this chaos rises up. And of course, DM me the word mastermind to lock in your seat for Toronto, for the mastermind in Toronto in September. It's coming up in just a few weeks, literally just a few seats left. Again, DMing me the word mastermind is not going to make you buy the ticket, but it's going to give you the open line to ask me some questions and help you make the decision to buy that ticket. Like I said before, this is an investment into you, into your process, into your life. Use that investment wisely. It will pay dividends. We're talking tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm telling you, personally, I am telling you that. This will be year number 3 that we're doing this event. The first 2 years, we've had incredible feedback, incredible successes. People are coming back again. And the best part is you don't know anything about the event. But that tells you that it works. So be there with us. DM me the word mastermind. Do it on Instagram, David Greenspan 101. Let's talk about the mastermind in September. I look forward to seeing you there. All right. You've been listening to the MindShare Podcast. Go to mindshare101.com to grab your free ultimate marketing bundle, explore coaching, and save your seat for that mastermind. Follow me at David Greenspan 101 and let me know your 3 non-negotiables this week. Big thanks to Kits, Rem Magazine, and Revel Realty for sponsoring this episode. This has been another episode of the MindShare Podcast. Until next time, keep building MindShare because that's how you get the market share. Thank you for tuning in.